should go and go now.
Good morning, Deputy Seán Crowe. Good morning.
Good morning. I suppose in the last general election, people overwhelmingly rejected the policies of the government of Fianna Fáil, the Greens and the PDs. And my plans, no, my plans weren't rejected at all. I actually got elected. But anyway, regardless of that, I think there's a general consensus and maybe agreement about most of the electorate and even political commentators that the last government stayed too long in power. They lost touch with people, ignored the escalating financial crisis, and believing their own propaganda, they thought they were good for at least another term in office. People voted for a fair and better way, for a change and for an alternative. Unfortunately, people haven't seen that change or that alternative. This government got elected on the back of promises they made to an electorate that expected and demanded a new approach. During the general election campaign in 2011, you both promised to protect working families and vulnerable citizens from unfair policies and measures that would drastically affect their living standard. But the ink was hardly dry on the programme for government when you began your assault attacking working families and those on low and middle incomes. You were promised to oppose any attempt to introduce cuts to child benefit. But in the next couple of days, you're proposing to cut child benefit and penalise families who are hanging on an edge of a financial cliff. We heard at the weekend the Minister say that you tend to do this during an election. When you enter government, you park your election promises and somehow bury the legitimate aspirations of the electorate who elect you. Cuts to child benefits payments, no matter how it's wrapped up and presented, are wrong, plain and simple. They're anti-children, anti-women, penalise large families and will push even more and more families and their children into poverty. And I personally find it repugnant and difficult to listen to well-meaning government TDs who come into this chamber and defend policies that got them elected to overturn and reject. They're actually carrying out the same policies of the previous government. A minister at the weekend seemed to have no problem with these social cuts. When the facts change, I change my mind, whatever that means. The reason it hasn't changed is because government has failed to negotiate a deal to remove the burden of private banking debt from the shoulders of taxpayers. During the election campaign, Eamon Gilmore proclaimed that voters had a choice between Labour's way or Frankfurt's way. Is this budget Labour's way? That's the question people are asking at home. Where's Labour's stamp on this budget? In government, they could refuse to impose losses on unsecured, unguaranteed senior bondholders at Anglo-Irish Bank and Irish Nationwide Building Society. You will pay £3.1 billion to Anglo-Irish Bank on the 31st of March next year and £4 billion to the Bank of Ireland in May 2013. Yet you cut child benefit, introducing a family home tax and reducing respite grants to carers, while giving unsecured bondholders a free pass to as much of the Irish people's money as they wanted. That's the crazy thing. That's what's annoying people at home. You said one thing and done the opposite.
1 minute, Deputy.
And that's what's killing people. And that's what's killing people out there that are suffering in their homes. Minister, you only have to walk outside this house here in relation to see and the change that has happened under your government. Look in the doorways. Look at the amount of people sleeping rough on the streets. And you'll see them. And if you haven't seen them before, Minister, you were the TD in this house before this, you can actually see more and more people sleeping rough in doorways. Now, whose responsibility is that? That's the responsibility of the people in this house. We have failed those people. And it's coming up to Christmas, and those people are without a roof over their heads in relation to it. But the cruelest cut of all, Minister, and other speakers have talked in terms of, is the respite cut. That's the difference between, in some cases, for families, sanity or insanity. And we all know that. We all come in here and praise those carers. And rightly so. But at the end of the day, what do? you're cutting their respite, and that's the cruelest cut of all. Lastly, in relation to students, I described it there during the week. We're actually starving students out of education. There are your cuts in your budget and the delays in the SUSI programme. You need to look again at this budget. There's nothing fair. People talk in terms of this budget, oh, we're talking about a fairer budget. There's nothing fair about this budget, and you need to think again on what you're doing.
Now called Deputy Michael Kilreath.